Okay, note to self, come up with something funny and humorous to insert here that encourages people to continue to watch the rest of the video. Hi there, my name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker at Temporary Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 243. And I hope you guys are doing okay out there. So, I know at least one listener heard that temporary thing and her little antennae went up. Don't worry, it's just a thing. So, how are you guys doing today? I'm bored. Bored. But it's Thursday, which means you guys get a video, which means I got to come up with something entertaining. So, hopefully you're entertained. Are you not entertained? So, it is October the 2nd. We are entering the fourth quarter of real estate here in Phoenix, Arizona. I have already hit my annual numbers. Technically, I could probably coast for the rest of the year, but that way lies madness. A lot of agents do stuff like that. They get themselves a good commission, and then they just turn themselves off until they run out of money, and then they start scrambling again. It's like, watch it happen all the time. Try to tell them not to, but they're going to do what they're going to do. And you can't fix stupid. Sometimes you just got to let them touch the stove. But hey, I have a superpower, and that superpower is learning from other people's mistakes. Very rare, very precious, very powerful. So I also learn from my own occasionally, usually after the third or fourth time, and I go, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But if for any of you guys who are overanalyzing, if I sound down, if I sound tired, if I sound depressed, or any of those things, I'm just tired. Right? Between the shoulder and the cat and everything else, sleep is a dream of a distant past that I don't remember that much anymore. So that, and I'm also dealing with the same technical stuff as before. I was really sitting there, and it just hit me as I'm setting everything up and realized I left my mouse at home. So I had to use this mouse, and then discover that, oh yeah, how am I going to plug the microphone in? Oh, I'll just use the adapter. Oh yeah, I don't have the adapter with me because I thought it would be more important to have it at home than in my bag. I'm like, almost thought about just going and recording this at home where I actually have stuff. But I want to get this out of the way. So, real estate. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. We are supposed to be talking about real estate. And oh my God, do we have real estate going on? One of the major companies, Compass, who is a large multinational organization that acquires other multinational organizations, and they all sit there and try to convince you that their agent is the agent next door, a small, normal little local business, with a huge multinational conglomerate behind them. Just acquired another one called Anywhere, and that caused a lot of kerfluffle in the industry right now. To you, the consumer, it just means you're getting less and less choices. Right? When you have big corporations and stuff like that, they can set standards, and they have the resources available, hopefully, to bring their agents up to higher standards that are required from the individual states and municipalities. But in reality, it's like anything else. How do we maximize shareholder value? So the biggest thing about the Compass merger is Compass has been in a lot of arguments with NAR and the local MLSs because they want the right to just only show their listings on their own internal platforms, which means other agents don't get to see them. This is that car lot business model that I've been talking about. And we'll just see how that goes out. Ultimately, the problem is that we, realtors, have not educated you, the consumer, on the nature of the business. Now, our new president of NAR just came out and dropped this really great little, we need to be more about the consumer, and we need to be more about our customer. Now, we've gotten beside the point, and we do that, we'll make money. And it's just a rebranding of the same shit. It really is. Run it by go out there, get the PR department in here. Okay, how do we, polish this turd to make it sound like something different? And, we'll just say this, and that's not what it's about. Okay, NAR's going to do what NAR's going to do. NAR needed to do, all right, is to set a standard, hold agents to that standard. And I'm not talking about, you said a bad word, all right? I'm talking about actually, hey, why don't you take care of your client, right, in a legal and ethical way, all right? They'll say that all day long, right, but they'll still push back. But this is what it is, and this is, it's still an industry that, people come into every year. 80% of them are gone 3 years later, right? But people still get houses bought and sold, all right? And people have a lot less drama because they used a professional to sell or buy a house, right? The day that stops happening is the day we as an industry need to go away. All right, so a little, sorry, didn't mean an editorial. I mean, literally, I was going to, my original title that I still might use is a short one because I wasn't planning on talking that much because I got a busy day ahead of me. But, that's just how the national news and everything is kicking in. And it's just, we got a couple new lawsuits going on. Zillow's getting sued for not showing rental properties that they should. There's another lawsuit against Zillow saying the people who bought or sold their houses to Zillow were misled. I don't know anything about that. But Zillow's really a lot of lawsuits flying around on that. A lot of lawsuits that are being handled at the big, drawn out national level, state attorney generals dealing with these big organizations and stuff. And then, the little run amok, this agent did something wrong, or this agent didn't do something wrong. I had a sales meeting yesterday, and I was discussing training my staff there about how to find an agent, how to find a real estate agent in a city that you don't live in, or a state that you don't live in. And I was helping out a client of mine who needs to offload a family property in Missouri. And on top of everything else he's got going on, I said, I could find you an agent. So I started researching agents out there in Missouri, and I realized the challenges. Now, this is a skill set that I think an individual agent should have. Strangely enough as it sounds, all right, that you should be able to you should know what to look for in a good agent and hopefully emulate that, right? And then, so I'm sitting there going through Mountain Grove, Missouri, and there are 4 brokerages. They have a 5th one, but wow, those reviews. I mean, I could tell why they didn't have much of a public presence, because if they had a public presence, more people could go there and leave negative comments about them. There was one very large team that was pretty much an entire office. One of the other things that was interesting is when you look in small little rural communities, and real estate agent can advertise in any area that they want, basically, that they're licensed to do businesses. Looks like Missouri is an awful lot like the rest of the world, and their license allows them to perform anywhere in the state. So I'm looking at people who live 75 miles away from the subject property saying that they can do business in that community. Right? I don't agree with that. So we were discussing this at our mastermind meeting yesterday, and one of the agents, one of the older senior agents, going, well, how far out would you go? Would you be comfortable doing, like here in Arizona, Wickenburg? And I'm like, no, I don't know what I don't know out there. And we got into this big conversation. All right. And it's that I'm licensed to perform anywhere in Arizona, but I don't know all of Arizona. I don't know Payson. I don't know Prescott. I don't know Tucson. I know Maricopa County. And I think it's wrong for an agent to represent themselves as being able to handle business. And you're not supposed to. It's literally state law, court cases. I think Nora's got one of the things. You should not be working outside of your scope. And if you're working outside of your scope, you need to find somebody and work with them and have them mentor you. And then you need to let your client in writing know, hey, I don't do Wickenburg, but I am bringing on Joey, and Joey is a Wickenburg god. So we had this big go-around on it. Of course, in front of staff, and she's management, so she should know that certain conversations should not happen in front of staff if you're management. So I had to pull her aside and go, hey, this is the reason why I said that. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. She goes, oh. I'm like, yeah. So, zip it. I didn't say that. Thought it in my head. I keep having this fantasy, right, that, when I pull people aside for that, hey, this is what's going on, they'll suddenly realize, wow, I was wrong, and change their behavior, but they never do. That sounded a little dumb, too. Okay, let's go to the numbers, because the numbers always cheer me up, because I get to use my announcer voice. All right, just for the record, I'm having to use the touchpad, so if you hear any weird noises, that's me banging the touchpad. All right, numbers this week for October 1st, 2025. Actives this week are 24,316, down 39 from last week. And new listings were at 2,185, down 5. Our contracts written last week were 2,089, up 97. Our closings were 2,115. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 574 new listings. Now, what I just said there does not reflect on the Cromford report numbers, but I always default to Cromford because they are so much smarter than I am. But supply has raised to 98.7 from, the last time I ran the Cromford numbers. All right. Demand also rose up to 79.5, leaving us at 80.5 for an overall Cromford score. Bleh. Okay. Then if we sit there and we look at our local areas, we got Fountain Hills is still leading the pack at 154.9, up 9 from this time last month. Paradise Valley has dropped 27%. This time last month, there were 197.4. That was 197 buyers for every 100 houses for sale. Now they've dropped down to 144. Still a seller's market, right? But still, that's a huge drop. But they also have a very, very small inventory out there. So small adjustments make for bigger changes. Then we have Scottsdale, Chandler, Cave Creek, Avondale, Gilbert. Look at that. Gilbert's gone up 13%. In the last month, they've gone from a balanced market of 102 to 115.8. All right, good for you, Gilbert. Mesa and Phoenix are both in our balanced markets, and they're both up. Glendale is still in a balanced market, but has been falling. All right, and then we get in Peoria, just pulled up out of the buyer's market and into a balanced market. They're at 91.7. To round out our buyer's markets, we are looking at Tempe, Goodyear, Surprise, Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa. All right, so Buckeye and Maricopa. Looks like they might be doing a shift. Buckeye's down to very slight rise from last month, and Maricopa seems to be stopping their decline. So how is this going to interact with the new interest rates? Well, fun thing about we got interest rates we got going on right now is the bond market is sliding down, right? Especially with, when you have a shutdown, you tend to have a lot of people seek safety on the markets, and one of the safest things out there is a treasury bond, all right? And that treasury bond does impact real estate lending. So we'll see what happens. By the time I get this posted out, I seriously doubt we're going to have fixed the whole shutdown routine, although we might by next week. And then a month from now, we get to do it all over again. Or we could pass a budget. Or we could vote to pass a budget. That would be an interesting concept, like actually make them vote. Not that, whether or not we're going to stop debate on this thing, but an actual, hey, let's put names on paper, all right? I want to see who actually decided they were going to vote for, $250 billion into, underwater basket weaving classes in Uganda or whatever. So, yeah, I know somebody out there said, well, actually, we don't spend $250 billion on foreign educational practices. Yeah, I know. Don't do that. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes you. They just say they do because they feel bad for you, but they really don't like you. Mr. Actually. That was fun. Okay, so I'm getting a little manicky over here. So, serious question. All right. I swear to God, I hope nobody was there on 12th Street just south of Northern Say at about been about 11:30 or so on a last Friday night, okay? Because you may or may not seen a small little blue car drive into something flooded. But trick to knowing the rules is knowing when to break the rules. All right, but you don't do that because you don't know the rules yet. So do not drive into anything flooded. Watch your children, pets around water. All right. The work your circles. Seriously, do I have to go back and do the whole circle lecture again? All right. Calling your mother. I don't need to call my mother. I'm going to be seeing her in a week. And you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys all later.